It's already the afternoon of November 18th. We have a whole slew of weather watches and warnings across Western Canada right now. It's going to be very interesting for the next little while. Almost everywhere, it seems like, perpetually everywhere. Maybe not everywhere, but a lot of places, yep. So especially in Western Canada here, we got a whole bunch of weather statements and watches and warnings and things going on right now we're still going to talk about here in this episode. A lot of people have been watching, so might as well keep talking, right? It's the bad news show, and there's a lot of bad news to talk about. The bomb cyclone has got everyone freaking out, man. It's like the big headline of the day. It's a bomb cyclone. It's everyone's, wow. And then all the people are like, oh, what do you mean it's a bomb cyclone? They're just trying to scare us. I've never heard of this term before. Well, it's been around for a while. We'll talk about maybe that a little bit, and we'll talk about the forecast. And here's your update today on the Bad News Show. Anything else? No, let's go. There it is. This is bad news. My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen. Get on! Wow. I'll watch the video later. They dry mopping this. Here's a satellite image this afternoon. You can see the toxic soup of shit that's coming together. That's going to be the bomb cyclone out there in the Pacific, and it's aiming itself towards California, more or less, maybe Oregon too. And it will impact all of us. I think for BC, it won't be that much different than a lot of the storms we've already had this year along the coast. And, for us, it'll be maybe more significant of a storm for the people having impacts down in the United States. And there's all kinds of weather watches and warnings and people down there talking about it too. But I'm the only guy in the Caribou talking weather, so that's what you're here for. Over on this side of the continent, you can see this mid-latitude cyclone is sucking cold air in, and it's pulling some of that nice Gulf moisture up, and it's getting itself angry. It's finding itself more and more moisture to work with, and it's pushing itself up towards Manitoba quickly, where a whole bunch of weather watches and warnings and statements are now in a winter storm, snowfall, you name it. It's all in effect there as well. So we got special weather statements for BC. And the cold air, that's the thing that's triggering so much of the anger, is the way the cold air is streaming on down. And it happens. That's not necessarily an unusual November thing, but it's coming down at the right time in the right place, and it's going to fuel a number of storms in every direction. Over the last 12 hours, this moisture, precipitable water that's up in the atmosphere, has been able to start riding that high pressure down and around. It's got this still embedded upper level low in the Gulf of Alaska, and the two of them together are steering it more or less right towards that California coast. And it's coming into here, and it's going to start finding some of the things it needs to get it angry over the next few days. And some people think it's going to get, some of the models are saying maybe down to 938 millibars. I think the 940s are still safe to say, but any suggestion that it was going to be less than that, I think, is pretty much out of the question. We're getting pretty close now. It's almost ready to form. It's got its act mostly together. Over here on this side, you can see how that's really taking a ride up this high here and feeding into the cold that's coming down there. It's got the Gulf moisture to work with here. We're going to have some very, very interesting weather phenomenons crossing up into that Ontario border, into the Dakotas, into Manitoba, into Saskatchewan. There's already a band that's making itself sort of prefrontally out there in Saskatchewan right now at this hour. Eastern sides of Manitoba, looking at a winter storm warning now for you. For Saskatchewan, west central Manitoba, northwest Manitoba, 2 to 3 centimeters per hour, quite possibly rapidly accumulating snow we're looking at starting Monday night. Northwest Manitoba on Tuesday. Snow will taper off from south to north beginning on Wednesday through Thursday. Oh, it gets better than this, though. It gets better than this. Snowfall warning, 10 to 25 centimeters in the Thompson area. Going to Saskatchewan side here, 20 to 40 centimeters is going to be coming at you there. Highway 106, Pelican Narrows, Cumberland House. Big time snowfall totals. Go a little further south, 25 to 50 centimeters. Oh my, for portions of east central Saskatchewan, west central Manitoba, northwest Manitoba. That's Monday evening for west central Manitoba, Monday night, and northwest Manitoba on Tuesday. Snow will taper off as we just read. I wish the phone would stop dinging, but everyone's talking right now, 10 to 15 centimeters for that more. So some of the only places without much to talk about right now are just this one little stretch here in eastern Alberta and western Manitoba. Don't worry, it's still going to get cold there enough for you that it's going to suck. Today there is snowfall going on in southern Alberta, places like maybe Nanton and whatnot, seeing a little bit of snow, Vulcan, areas like that. Almost all these places now have gone from watches to warnings. So we have the winter storm, just one winter storm watch left in Manitoba, but almost everything else now has just switched to warnings. So 5 to 15 centimeters, local accumulations, 20 to 40 centimeters. We could see winds 70 to 80 Tuesday night and Wednesday. Wow, man. There could be a mix of freezing rain and snow on these central portions, or these southwestern side of Manitoba there. Areas like the Red River Valley, the Riding Mountains, Duck Mountains, high snowfall could be there. This is going to be quite the thing, man. So even in areas down south, we got snowfall warnings now, and we still have maybe winter storm watches in those areas too, where we'll see. They'll probably get upgraded. Everything will probably get upgraded. So keep checking in at Environment Canada. Meanwhile, over in BC, nothing quite that bad, but still, this low-pressure system, the weather bomb, the bomb cyclone, is going to be about 400 kilometers west of Vancouver Island on Tuesday. The low is forecasted to then curl northwards on Wednesday, remaining offshore through the period. Coastal areas will see southeasterly winds increase through the afternoon on Tuesday, with peak wind speeds expected for most areas on Tuesday night. Strong winds are likely to continue Wednesday morning, but should ease later in the day. Very strong outflow winds can be expected through the mainland inlets and valleys. Some of those areas will get funneled in, and on the coast we have a different one, but basically it says the exact same thing, more or less. Strong winds, power outages, bullshit like that you can expect. It's going to suck. And for all my American friends, you want to be checking into the National Weather Service, because you got a whole slew of different warnings and watches, synopsis for California waters, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Special weather statements, watches, warnings. I find this system kind of, that it takes you away every time to something different. Winter storm. I don't know. I find your site kind of confusing, National Weather Service, but for you Americans there, check it out. But this is not a show about America, so let's go back home. Weather Center Manitoba put a good video out on Facebook today. You can go check their Facebook out. Here's also their Blue Sky. Check them out on Blue Sky. Find me there as well. Meanwhile, here in Wells, the temperature has dropped quite a bit over the last few days, and I haven't liked it that much. Still sitting here around 2:30 in the afternoon, and we're almost 2 degrees below Celsius. Kind of sucks. And check this out. Last night, down to 12.4 below. So remember I told you cold air is coming. It's already showing itself. It's already showing up. There's got a bit of a bitingness to the air right now. It's kind of dry out there. Humidity is finally a little bit. No, not really. What's humidity at? 74%. Better than it's been, I guess, for a while. Nice and dry. I kind of like winter for that reason. It's a little bit dry. This is my weather station, brought to you by Diggy's Diner here in Wells. If you go there, ask Shannon for the Joey Only special. She'll know what you mean. She'll know what, well, you won't know what that means, but she will. I don't know. Avalanche Canada's got to get their stuff together here. We don't have reports for almost anywhere still. We don't have conditions, except for one little area, Rogers Pass. So if all you people in BC just happen to go to this one area, look out, because conditions are considerable in Rogers Pass for avalanches. Yeah, not very good. Lots of new snow and strong gusts have made for a reactive slab in the alpine and the tree line. You can expect that's the case in other places too. We just don't have data yet to confirm it. I'm sure of that, right? Limit your overhead exposure in these times. We got local areas in there that's reported with very, very high chance, right? Very high chance. Some statements here from Alberta side, but it says new snow is on the way this weekend. So I don't know. I'd like to see Avalanche Canada sort of get their act together. We've already had a few avalanches. And if you are working for the government, pay these guys. Give these guys more resources, because they do a very good job with what they got, right? So what does it say today? An incoming bomb with a question mark. Today we see a break in between organized weather systems. However, unsettled conditions and flurries. Tuesday, a very deep low-pressure bomb cyclone approaches the coast. Snow and very strong winds develop Tuesday evening in the south coast ranges. Snow spreads into the interior earlier Wednesday morning. Snow continues Wednesday. We'll see how much. I'm still not convinced. Well, we'll see. It's got to fight a little bit to sort of get inland here. When the cold wants to fight it back, the high pressure on Thursday, the cold conditions clear out across the interior ranges. That means cold. The south coast ranges will continue to see flurries in the morning. The flurries will come to an end Thursday. A new funnel system spreads precipitation to the south coast ranges and southern interior system ranges on Thursday night, and it's a new frontal system, but it's from the same mass of weather. Of course, you can go to Ingles Weather, ingleswx.com, and see meteorologist Mark Ingles' take on all this. It's an extensive write-up for a change, and we don't have time to read through all of it today, but I think it's good if you want to find out more information on what a bomb cyclone is. And it's about, we usually think of it as 24 millibars in 24 hours. He remarks at 46 degrees north latitude, a cyclone needs to develop, deepen only by 20 millibars in 24 hours to be a bomb. The ECMWF has this incoming low deepening by 63 millibars. Oh, it could be 3 times the legal limit. We got to pull you over. Sir, have you been drinking hurricane force winds? Hurricane force, that's not the hurricane force. That's steady winds. That's not wind gusts. The wind could be stronger than the hurricane force winds and the steady winds. So he's got a long write-up here about the history, how often this kind of thing happens, what could be seen, about the atmospheric river that's going to hit into California. Mark's got it all. He's a great meteorologist. And if you want to find out more as well, I'm sure this will be the conversation, and one of the conversations that on the Meteorological Report this week. That's the podcast we have every Thursday night here. We are live on this channel at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, more or less, a little bit later than sometimes, a few minutes there, not usually earlier. But we will have probably Mark on at that time, probably, and we'll definitely have either Justin or Brandon Houck on. We'll have some people on.
This particular larch tree is always the last one in town to lose its needles. All the time.
And maybe Hank to talk about some of these things that are going on out there, right? So post-funnel thunderstorms possible for Washington, Western Oregon, Vancouver Island on Wednesday. So meteorological context. Mark's got it all here. He's great. And if you come to the podcast, and you will see for yourself us. First things first, we'll have a look at this storm heading into Manitoba, wrapping back around up, hitting that cold air on the backside. So got a little bit of rain coming into northern Ontario, quite likely. And the backside of that is that cold. You see the strong winds on those tight isobars. So curving in maybe from the north, bringing that cold air in. Gonna be kind of biting. And some of those areas in Saskatchewan could see the snow pile up. We could see localized event in some parts of southern Manitoba with maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 centimeters of snow. And then when it's blowing, you know what it's like there when it's blowing. Oh, you wouldn't want to be on the Great Lakes, by the way, later this week, because when this thing kind of moves over there, that would be the kind of the gales of November. The gales of November. Yesterday, here it's already starting to develop today into tonight. Overnight tonight starts to develop. Yesterday, we saw it maybe bottom out around 943 on the GFS. Here we are back on the GFS. We're not going to bother with that conservative Canadian model because it had it much, much higher. It had it in the 950s. Like, come on, Canada, get with it. This is worse than that. Look at how it deepens down. Ooh, here it is. Watch how it deepens down. You can also see our storm in Manitoba going on right now at this time. They're deepening down. 940. Can you get any lower than that? Sure you can. Sure you can. 988 in the prairie. Still a potent storm. Still a potent mid-latitude cyclone. You can see that cold air streaming on down. It's coming down like the gates of hell have been opened free, and every kind of misery that you do not want to experience is coming down there. 1050 high in the north up there in Alaska. That is screaming cold. That'll make your eyeballs freeze solid, folks. You don't want to have no part of that. You don't want no part of this. 941. Can you get deeper than that? 942. Wait a second. A few minutes ago, I ran this, and it got down to 938. So you can't get too caught up in the specifics, but still, look at this thing. Look at that. That's not something you want to be playing around with, folks. That's gonna be smashing that atmospheric river down south here. It's just got nowhere else to go but to ride this high pressure right here. It's just gonna ride it in, and it's got nowhere to go when it gets to here because it's gonna smack against that cold and kablamo. So I do think we're gonna see some stronger winds into the interior at times because of the rubbing of this cold air. You can see even here on the graph that looks very tight. So let's talk about here what kind of wind we'll be seeing in the BC interior. Oh my. Yeah, we're not talking about a rain event so much. Maybe a little bit of snow. And then eventually this thing might get organized and try to give a little thrust into southern BC. But I don't think it's going to beat back that cold enough for my liking. It may force the low to the south instead and then just give Alberta snow. That's next week's problem. We'll see if that happens. Manitoba, and we'll see. They probably want more snow. Why not? They've been in a drought forever too. You'll have winds picking up into Saskatchewan. starting overnight Monday into Tuesday early morning. Going to see those winds pick up. It's going to be just blasting there on Lake Superior, up Lake Michigan. Going to be very, very treacherous. You would not want to be a ship on there. I was kind of joking there, Of course, it's not funny when you are a big ship caught in the wind. Speaking of such, look out here on the coast, and when this thing develops good, oh boy, the winds will be stronger, it looks like, down in the United States, by the way, on that storm you have. So maybe you'll get a little bit lucky in the prairies. 9:44, deepening. Oh boy, that is some ridiculous looking winds up those coasts. So we know, and this is sustained winds. We could see 100-kilometer-an-hour sustained winds at times, right? But even looking into the BC interior, we're seeing some of those winds pick up with steady 30s and whatnot. Well, if we go and just take a stop here and go to gusts, and I like to look at gusts. I know a lot of people don't, and you can see the gusts are maybe much stronger in the prairies. I like to look at gusts sometimes more than sustained winds, because sustained winds are one thing, but it's the gusts that break the branches. It's the gusts that knock the trees down. It's the gusts that make it unsafe to work out there in the bush. Overnight on Wednesday, we might have some power outages looking at that north coast, that central coast, especially on Vancouver Island. Some of these winds up there by the Pine Pass are going to be really kicking 89 gusts, right? So gusts, maybe that's not sustained winds, but if one of those gusts hits into your area and can knock some trees down and things like that, it might put you in the dark in the morning, things like such. If you were out working in the bush in the Caribou or in the South Ranges, if you were working up in the North Rockies, you're working up, basically the winds are going to be picking up. Right, you got to be careful with your heads up out there in the bush. Trees coming down is a big time threat. And I've had branches come down. I'm a danger tree assessor on the wildfire. I got my tickets. I renewed them. It's not the first time I've been a DTA. I'm good at my job. I'll tell you, man, I've had trees that look pretty good suddenly come down around me, and I'm pretty heads up and aware. So you be heads up and aware through Wednesday, maybe some of Tuesday. Some of these winds are still picking up at times, but the problem is it's this cold, it's this biting cold that's coming down, and I'm not looking forward to what this could mean here in Wells. Northern BC seeing it, northern Alberta, coming down the Rockies. This is Thursday. Still in the afternoon, we're well below zero in most of BC, quite a bit chillier. So that should help introduce some snow into the South Coast ranges. And we're going to be watching over the next little while to see where this blob of cold air goes. If it could be somehow defeated and moved out of here, that would be nice, become someone else's problem. But I don't think for this week, especially if you're in that north sector of BC, it's coming any better for you. The rest of you may receive more below seasonal, but at least it won't be, what it might be here in Wells in the high elevation. So we've already called out some of the snow totals. We'll kind of leave it on this here, just one last run through the graphic and see what happens. Our low digging down. Snow Tuesday morning coming to Saskatchewan first. Heavy band wrapping up through into northern Manitoba. That starts moving itself eastward, targeting into northern Ontario. We can see our bomb cyclone becoming a bombogenesis. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers really bombed it yesterday, didn't they? They totally bombed, and you see that cold air coming down. You can see it. It's fueling this storm, and it's making it angrier on this side. It's making those winds a little stronger in the backside. For you in the prairies Tuesday night, you can see that storm getting down to in the low 940s. How low did it go? I didn't catch. ECMW has it down 943. That's nice and conservative. Sure. Will it get lower than that? Maybe. Those tight isobars, that's what shows you where the winds will be moving from, and they'll follow these isobars with a little bit of a bent inwards as they do. That's because of the Coriolis effect. That's for an entire different video or for somewhere else for you to learn about completely. That's not today's discussion. Nonetheless, they curve in a little bit, so your winds will be coming for out of the south east, sort of, for a lot of us in BC, or out of the south down there, and that might be nice for you to keep knocking that temperature back up this week. But we do have some snowfall on Wednesday, and maybe in southern BC some of that will be heavier if some of this can get inland. So I'm thinking that we might see some advisories later this week, possibly on snowfall for the passes in southern BC. I think the temperature will be cold enough that a lot of you who haven't seen snow yet may stand a light chance. But again, this isn't a huge snow story, it doesn't seem like yet, because most of that atmospheric river has been pointed down on the U.S. coast. It's been hitting into California somewhere or near Oregon, and it's been number of days of just dumping already in that general area. For us, we're kind of just getting whatever can make it over the mountains, up and over, and cross through Oregon, Washington, Idaho. It's got to go quite a bit of a ways to get up to here, and by that time it's kind of spun itself out and it's having to meet into this cold air, which is keeping this thing angry enough, I suppose, but it's not protecting us enough. I would like the precip, personally. I would like the precip more. So that's just sort of a look at where we're going this week. All these new weather watches and statements and warnings and bomb cyclone talk. I know it's scary. It's so much to talk about. But hey, there is reason to suggest that these storms are getting worse with climate change. And you don't want to hear that. You want to hear the news tidy and nice the way you want to hear it. You want to hear it's going to be sunny today at this temperature. And you're a weather guy. You can't talk about this or that. Well, no, I do whatever the hell I want to hear because I'm up in the mountains in the Caribou in Canada, and Canada man says what he wants. That's fucking the way she goes, okay? So, we're looking at all week the instability lingering, and man, that atmospheric river is going to be something. So there's going to be nonstop stories. Everyone's feed's going to be lighting up. Everyone's going to be hitting the likes and shares and subscribes. Please do yourself a favor and come back again if you could. I'll try to keep it entertaining around here. Try to keep it simple. Try not to get too complex with things, not get too talky, too wordy, just to have fun with it and sort of give you an idea where things are going. And, maybe this weekend we'll see some snow, maybe, but that's next forecast period. I think in the next few days we're just going to be talking about how to get through all the weather stories that are going on in Western Canada right now. Well, that's the show. Okay, bye.